So we are going to be doing the flooring, so to speak, which is the rubber mats that you see equipment standing on most gyms. And we're also going to do the window because I realized I don't have a window at some point. So you can see me typing in the dimensions, going off the theme of modeling to scale, of course. And here I'm looking at the reference from the gym and looking to see roughly how many squares would fit into the floor around things that I already have, basically using reference to reference. Funny enough, even though you have the dimensions, sometimes you do want to visually see if it makes sense, right? And here I'm going through just a few iterations of trying to get the mat, the tile of the mat rather, to work. So I realized snapping the corners after I was beveling there wasn't gonna work, and doing it this way as well was not ideal. So sometimes the simplest method works, which is to make a cube and snap them to that. But then, funny enough, I realized I snapped them in the wrong axes, and then I have to bring them back down. And I wasn't convinced that I did it properly, so I just snapped them again without messing up the y-axis. Anyway, that worked, and then I proceeded to add another bevel to tighten the corner. And it's subtle, but it gives it that lip that you can see going around the edge of the mat. And I'm pretty happy with this, so I'm just gonna see if I can make it modular. I mean, it's already modular by nature, but I mean snapping it in the correct location on the origin, on the grid. I'm doing some quick UVs, of course. I was gonna fill the bottom, but I decided not to since you never see it. Honestly, it's just one polygon, so it's not really a big deal. I mean, it's a tile, so it's like the perfect UV, so that took no time. So now I'm organizing my PRF just to have all the reference I need to create the tiles, right? And it's the main tile, but also the angled tile on the side. So I'm using the dimensions again, as you know, you should be accustomed to this by now. And I'm looking to see, okay, well, that lines up with the middle of that and the middle of the other one. So maybe there, one of them lines up with two tiles. So I started to put in the dimensions and put in the work to make sure that aligns perfectly, right? And then the next step is to get the height correct. So I'm making a cube as a reference, and that will help me to snap the bottom of the tile, the angle tile, to the top of that reference cube. And I'll keep the cube so that when I go to the inner tile, I seem to have raised the wrong side of the of the other tile. So now I can raise the inner tile to the same point, right? And this is important when you're doing modular things, because now this is gonna line up perfectly. And you know what I say, if you line it up before you bevel, then when you bevel, they will still be touching perfectly. So here I am working on the corner piece, right? So I duplicated that. And I mean, it's one slice of the corner, so that's going to be 45 degrees. But looking back, I should not have beveled yet. I wanted to see how the bevel would work on the other side, but as you're going to see, it did not help me when I was editing the corner piece, right? Because then when you bevel too early, it's just pain, because if you move certain things, the bevel will slide with it, and it's just best to bevel after you've done all of these things, right? Because you want the shapes to line up before the bevel, and then bevel them all at the same time. So this part of the time lapse, I'm not, the happiest with or the most proud of or whatever. So just keep stuff like that in mind. It will save you time and accuracy. And that kind of thing is really important when you're trying to create a modular piece. As you can see, throughout that whole time I was talking, I've been tweaking the bevel, tweaking the shape, tweaking the bevel, going back and forth. But anyway, finally I have a result that I would like, and I've done pretty basic UVs, nothing to shout about. And these are going to be on the ground and usually not too near to the camera, so it's not a big deal. And as you can see here, I created an instance so that when I drag it across, the other one will also drag, and I can find out where and how much I need to carry it across. And honestly, creating instances is really a great way to line up two meshes that have to touch or have very similar properties. It's really useful. So I've created the left one, and I'm just making sure that lines up because I'm gonna duplicate it and create the other counterpart to it, the one on the right. And the reason I'm creating two is because, yes, in the engine you can just multiply it by -1, but it's best to have things that are already done to keep things simple in engine. So I'm not doing the best job explaining it, but what I'm saying is you want 0, 0, 0, like you just want default values when it comes to making an environment, because then everything starts from the same baseline. Yeah. So I got the left piece, the right piece. Again, simple UVs, and the middle piece. So making sure the textile density is good, organizing my scene, applying basic materials, and for some reason that material was freaking out, and I forgot that I did not create a material for that. But you know how it is. So here we are exporting each one separately. And now, of course, we're going to be in Unreal, and we are going to import them. And of course, the blockout is comically larger than what it was in real life. It's obviously that's just how I block out stuff apparently. So yeah, so I'm importing them, making sure they snap to the floor, because, well, that snaps to the floor because that is how I set the origin. And because we made sure they snap to the corners of the mesh, now we can turn on snapping in Unreal, or it's on by default, and we can line up them beautifully. So when we duplicate them, we can snap, and we can just, you know what I mean? We can just snap it all together, and it's nice. It's good. It's modular. So here I am with the corner piece. And because I made sure the top lined up with the corner of the tile, and it's the bottom that flares out, it doesn't interrupt the snapping because it's the bottom of the corner that is gonna meet the other corner. I hope that makes sense. So I'm checking all the different views here to make sure you can see there's no gaps. So that's what that was about. And honestly, from this point onward, it's just, I guess the easiest reference is Legos, right? But yeah, it's just building blocks, and we have what we need to create the rest of the tiles. And it's from 4 objects, right? And we're gonna create an entire floor mat. And it's beautiful. So I'm just taking my time, bringing in the piece I need, and then we're gonna select all the stuff we had before and the edge and clone it across. I can see there's a discrepancy there that was off with the tiles. So even though they snap perfectly, you don't want to be, sloppy, right? So make sure it goes across, make sure it duplicates properly. And yeah, I'm not gonna make the tiles go all the way because we're never gonna see out there, so that's kind of a waste of time. Yeah, so I've created more or less the floor tiles for the scene. As you can see, of course, I'm adjusting the equipment because now they have to sit on these tiles. And looking back, the tiles kind of look a bit like puffed up, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I might bring down the height on those tiles at some point. So just keep that in mind. Of course, do it to your taste. It is based on reality, yes, but you don't have to be perfect in that sense. For some reason, I'm copying over the edge. Maybe I'm trying to plan, and you can see I can click the edge there and replace it. I don't have to drag it back in. That's pretty cool. I do love Unreal. And I'm going around the scene, and I noticed there's no window there, so we're gonna fix that in a moment. But I'm looking at the camera angle that the tiles are going to be seen in. Of course, it has to look nice. But other than the camera settings that I'm adjusting here, the I'm editing the scene to suit that camera, right? I might leave it for all the other cameras only because they're so low to the ground, it might not affect them. What you see me doing here is checking the height of the average room or gym and I created a cube to match that height, and now I'm adjusting it to suit. As you can see, some of the reference I have here, the ceilings are kind of high, so that tracks. So I'm looking at the window area that I have here, and I don't know why that was happening, by the way. So I just selected the faces and tried to bring those down and get them in line with what the reference was looking like. So I'm kind of getting happy with what I have here for the window, and I'm noticing that the back of the room is really far away. So I'd like to bring that in because you have to take into consideration the bounce light and external light sources. They will affect the scene. Things you cannot see will also affect the lighting in the scene. So now that I've got a kind of an idea of the window style, like the room style, I guess I'm going for, I'm going to, well, obviously create the window. So here I am creating the cube, and again I'm looking at the dimensions, of course, so trying to keep them accurate. I didn't sample the dimensions from Unreal because I kind of eyeballed it, so I'll probably have to go back and do that properly. But yeah, this is going to be really simple, no surprise there. I'm just trying to make it all in not necessarily one piece but one object, so that I can just import the window and the frame at the same time. So I'm pretty happy with this. Just gonna delete some unnecessary edges and then proceed to beveling the frame itself and the corners as well. Nothing to see here, pretty straightforward stuff. I'm gonna be pretty happy with that. So I'm gonna create the window pane, which again is not a plane but a cube because it has thickness, right? So I'm gonna add basic materials here just so I can differentiate it. When I get into Unreal, I can apply separate materials to each part of this object, and honestly that's good enough for me. Do I need to go through UVs for a simple cube? I think not. So we're just obviously unfolding it and straightening it and all that good stuff. We're gonna straighten the frame as well. Honestly, this will most likely get a tileable texture, so for me the straightening technically is not necessary. I could cut it more so in the shape it is in and cut it along the sides and call that a day, but I wanted to get in the habit of straightening UVs for some reason. So we're just gonna wrap up this model, rename some stuff here. As you can see, double check the UVs and also double check the materials. Make sure they're what I want them to be, put them in a group, the usual naming convention, and also set the origin. Make sure they're in the correct location so that we can snap them to the corner of the window, So that's done. Now we can go over to Unreal and bring it in. So we're going to import it, and just again, the usual materials. This is a new material, glass. We don't have a glass in here yet, so I'm just adjusting it. Not trying to get too far, but I do want to put some refraction and stuff like that, just to add to the realism, I guess. So as you can see, I've applied the materials and I'm putting them in here, and I'm just lining it up, trying to snap it to the corner of the back corner, I guess I should say. And I'm looking at the material, seeing how the refraction is working, and I'm kind of deciding on no refraction, just to simplify it. I might change my mind later, but now I realize the height of the window is incorrect. So off screen, I'm double checking the height that is supposed to be, and 7 foot. I brought it onto the screen so you could see, or 9 feet, I believe. And yeah, so I'm gonna adjust the window that I created to that height, and adjust the UVs, make sure the texel density is also updated. Then I'm gonna re-import it in Unreal, and now I should edit the Unreal environment to match our new found dimensions. So Unreal does have snapping, so that definitely helps. And I'm gonna bring down this, but because we beveled the corners earlier, as I told you, there's gonna be a gap. At the time, I didn't think it was necessary to fix all of those things. I kind of just wanted it done, so I left it as is. That's something you can do later when you're doing a polish pass. As you can see, there is a gap, at the bottom of the window. Not a fan of that, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with the progress we got on that day for creating the window, and it looks really nice. Looking in from the outside is actually kind of a nice shot. But yeah, that is it for this video. I'm just gonna continue to do small tweaks here, small tweaks there, but that's basically it for the window video and the mats. So I'm pretty happy with what I've done here. I'm just adjusting the block out just a little bit, but if we look at it in the final camera, or some of the final cameras, it's beautiful. The next video might be the last one in the modeling series, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Respect. Protect.